本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。What's good, Internet? It's Monday, November 23rd, and you're listening to Waypoint Radio, episode 362. I am your host, Austin Walker. Today, I'm joined by Patrick Klepek.
Hello.
Ricardo Contreras.
Yo.
And Rob Zachney.
I'm just destroyed this morning.
Did you want to give us another take? And Rob Zachney.
It might be broken, but I'm not sure I'm broken.
Buddy.
Well, you just need there's an item you use, and it'll fill that meter right back up, and then you can do full damage again.
Rob's Grindstone.
Called an Estus.
Rob's Grindstone, great name
That's his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Welcome to Rob's Grindstone. Please
Knife
like and
sharpening,
subscribe.
cooking, and Souls games.
Yeah, 100%. God. How you doing,
title.
Rob? Are you okay?
So yesterday I had the entire evening, and I was like, I'm gonna get back into Souls now. Time to
Hell
do it.
yeah.
Time to
Let's go.
You're going down, Tower Knight. And so I started the game up, and after shaking off some rust, like about 30 minutes in, I get to the Tower Knight and clear the ramparts of archers and start just kiting the dude.
Yeah.
And getting a feel for his attacks, his ranges, etc. And it's going really well. And I do the thing, I bust his ankles.
Yeah.
He falls over, and I'm like, juice comes out.
Yeah.
And then I start hitting him on the ground, and I'm like, this isn't doing a whole lot. Like, it seems like he should be taking more damage. And then he got up, and I was like, okay, that was underwhelming. I guess I'll try to bring him down again, and I do it again. And mind you, this fight is taking forever.
Sure.
And bring him down again. And once again, not doing a ton of damage. Round and round we go. And finally I bring him down. And this time I'm behind him when he falls. And his head's right there. And I'm like, here we go. And I just start going ham on his head and collar area. And just
that's career-ending damage.
Real quick.
You fuck up someone like that, he can't take a hit again like that,
Yeah. So I'm like, this guy's done. He's gone. My stamina depletes. And I'm like, but I can get this last hit. I can do this. I'll just stand here. I'll get this last hit.
Here,
just gotta get that bar.
Rob has entered the Demon Souls chat.
Dude stands up.
Yep.
And I get stunned. And I'm positioned in a corner, so I can't immediately roll out of there. And then he just steps back or stomps me or kills me. I'm just dead very quickly after that. He was down
to the big steppy.
He was down so low, to the point where his HP bar was almost gone.
Buddy.
Just one more heavy hit.
And you could identify the mistake you made. You can identify the specific moment.
Yes. So I was like, it's solved. It's not going to be so bad.
Yeah.
This arc, we've all been there, Rob.
Here so many times. And that was your first time to the boss that night, right? That was the first time you'd gotten to him, and you had a really good run, and you missed it by a little bit, and then the rest of the night happens, right? And you think, the next time it's going to go great, right?
I can't describe what happened. So the next time I get in there, and I just fuck up the entry to the arena, and he spears me with the lance. I haven't gotten hit by the lance in 12 tries. This time I get speared by the lance, and I'm stunned. And then I get shield stomped, and I'm dead.
Yeah,
And I'm like, okay, that was annoying. Fuck that, I'm gonna get right back to him. For the first time, I realized how difficult the fucking crossbowmen on the bridge are. This time, there's 4 of them at the end of the second bridge, and I run up to them like I always have. This has never been a problem. I run up to them, and I start taking the big swing, and I hear chunk. And I'm like, my animation got stopped.
Yeah.
Take the big swing, chunk, chunk. And I'm like, oh no, I'm taking a lot of damage here. And so I finished that fight, and I'm like, that was a lot of. I'm gonna have to take a lot of heal items to repair that. Okay, on we go. Get to the other end of the bridge. There's more archers. And as soon as I start to clean them up, the knight dude with the tower shield gets me. I'm like, that's not good. And then the tilt begins. Like it is fully on. No. My impatience begins to get to me. And suddenly the bridge is getting harder than it's ever been because I'm in such a fucking hurry that like I had a system to get to the knight reliably. But now I'm doing something completely different because I'm like, I need to do this faster. I just want to get to the knight. Yep. And it turns out trying to speed run the bridge is so much harder than just taking it slow and like going by the numbers and getting to the fucking knight fight. So it begins to just spiral. It's just, it's fucking on. I want to say an hour goes by, maybe more. I don't know how much time passes.
Time becomes a flow of emotion.
Like, okay, this is not going well. I'm going to go somewhere else for a minute.
Yeah. That's the thing.
I go to the Tower of Latria.
Okay, wow.
Rob. Well, you should have gone to the second
Hold
one.
on.
Okay.
So that doesn't go well.
Yep.
Tell me about the Tower of Latria. Tell me what happens there.
What didn't go well? What do you mean? You
I
you
guess,
met some,
but I would like to hear it from your mouth.
You love ringing bells.
There's these little Cthulhu guys with the bells.
Yep.
And they have a hard-hitting ranged magic attack, but then like two different forms of an AoE stun. Mm-hmm. That like basically, unless I roll up on them and quickly land a heavy, quick, heavy, light, they will destroy me. I will just get stunned, and then I'll watch the worst one of all is where I get like frozen, and then they like Cthulhu feast with the fucking tentacles on me, and I'm like, you son of a bitch, stop being stunned. Like,
and you're mashing the buttons on the controller, even though you know they don't actually do anything.
You're just my stamina bar is completely full. If only I could use it. I have so many things I could do. Latria doesn't go well. But side note, Latria has turned out to be a great place to go. Because those dudes are just big bags of souls.
Oh, yeah.
Once I got good at killing them, and by this morning I am, I am now just harvesting.
Did you sleep? Did you? Yeah, wait a second.
Barely, but hold on.
Rob's 200,000 souls later, like soul level 75. The health has made it all the way across the screen.
So Latria becomes just this fucking grind. And then I start doing things like, you know what it is? I don't have the right weapon to deal with the Tower Knight. I got a winged spear at some point that's got a high armor pierce. It's got better range. I wouldn't have to like run right under the fucking dude to get that ankle. So I need to start using the spear. Have I ever used the spear before? No. Do I have any sense for how the spear works? Well, I kind of figure it's a piercing weapon, so it'll be like the mail breaker, right? Not really.
Not really.
Totally different animal. And so I begin to die and eat shit in that way, trying the spear. And so then I'm like, I just need to take myself on a little spear tutorial and run around the Boletarian Palace spearing dudes. And I reached the conclusion, the spear sucks. My falchion is so much better. My falchion is like level 3 at this point. Yeah. Like people are just like getting carved up with this thing.
Rob needs to go on a run to get the crescent, and his life will change. Rob, you need to look up. You can do this. You need look up the crescent falchion, and it's easily obtainable in 4-1. Right? 5-1?
Yeah, I did it. Shrine of Storms level. Yep.
Yeah, I did it last night. You can, if you're just slow and steady.
It's also a cool level.
Yes.
Bring a club. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Bring a club or
you're going to beat some bags of bones.
You're going to beat some bone bags. And they like to get hit by they don't like, or they're fond of swords. They're less fond of heavy objects because they got bones. They don't have skin, what you could cut. With
classic D&D logic.
Classic D&D logic right there.
Just bash them apart.
And the reason you're going to love this is because the weapon you like, just like the coffee you like, what if it came, not even come back in style, but came back in style with magic.
Yeah.
And then suddenly your hits were doing like twice as much damage because it's a magic infused weapon. It is you might I don't know if you were paying attention to this part of the podcast, but like this is one of those, like, you're new to the game, like you just want like a game breaker early on, like just jump to the like second half of the game, run in, grab this weapon, leave, never come back to this area for another 20 hours. But you'll have that weapon, and it can help you do, like, it'll get you over the hill on certain areas. It'll make sections where you're frustrated in the run up to getting to a boss easier, because you're just dismantling the mobs a lot faster. Like, I'm doing that with a fire sword. You can do that with this this magic one.
Yeah.
What if instead of that?
Okay. All right.
I reached the conclusion sometime.
Oh, we haven't finished your story. Okay.
Oh, no,
all right.
no.
Sorry.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Sometime before midnight, I reached the conclusion that I just need to go faster. The real mistake I'm making is that
you're getting in your own head.
I'm wearing heavier armor than I was.
Oh, sure.
I'm carrying maybe too many heal items. And so what I need to do is
if I could just roll a little bit better.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? Back to the leather armor.
Yeah.
Just only what you think you'll need in terms of heal items. And then we will just run this as fast as possible.
Don't need armor if you never get hit.
Exactly, Cado. Exactly.
Yeah.
Armor's a trap.
Yeah.
So
Dex build logic.
several more runs go by. And my playstyle, though, does evolve, and it begins, like, I go through, like, I pass through rage. Just rage happens, and then I pass through it, and sometime, like, after midnight, just this, like, calm misery settled over me. It was so profound. I'm sitting here, I'm like, it's like I've been on a meditation retreat.
Serenity now.
Because I can only, the mindset I was in was just exquisite. I was beyond care. I was
This
like,
is my life now. This is me. This is what I do. This bridge is my life. This is my home. I enjoy it here. Come join me.
At some point, I was like, I got real comfortable with, I got a better shield at some point. I got a soldier shield, and it started just shrugging off those archer shots. And I was like, I'm just going to walk into these people like a man walking into like a hailstorm. And just like, you know, chunk, chunk, they all stand there. I'm fine. I close the zero range. One slash, they all get like chopped in half. I'm like, cool.
The only way out is through, Rob.
And then the Tower Knight. And I'm like, fuck the spear. The spear is over. The spear didn't work. I'm going to go with what I know.
The spearman.
The falchion and being quick.
It brought you
and
here.
You know how at the end of Gangs of New York, the final fight, like Daniel Day-Lewis's character just keeps coming in and out of the fog, and all you hear is footsteps, and just like he's knifing you, and then he's back in the fog.
Yeah.
That was me, and the Tower Knight was Leonardo DiCaprio. And it turned out, by the way, I also stopped trying to lock onto the fucker, because I kept locking on his torso,
wow.
And I was like, fuck
That's
this.
advanced
That's advanced
logic.
big brain. Yes, 100%.
I was like, I need to get both his ankles, and I'll just run up to the ankle, and I'll chop the one I want, and then I'll peace out.
Oh, yeah.
And this time, I chopped that fucker down like a tree.
Yes.
It was great. Like, the last run was just a murder. The last run, I just walked in and, like, methodically cleared, you know, basically within, like, 5 minutes, had cleared the ramparts, dropped the guy, taken him down to, like, a sliver of health. And at that point, I just got super conservative. I didn't need to bring him down again. And I was just like, I'm going to chop his legs down until he either falls down or he just dies. Either one's going to work. And got him. And then I was like, I was going to go to bed early tonight. And then I was like, but I've got my corporeal form back. I should take this thing back to Latria.
Those Cthulhu motherfuckers are going to love this.
Yeah.
More to feast on.
Yeah,
Let me tell you, they did. It didn't go well. It was time for bed.
Yeah.
But this morning, I'm on a tear now. And also,
good.
like, I'm... Oh, quick question. Because this is what I wanted to bring up with you guys. Because right before we got on the call, I was in the tower. I was back to the Nexus with a big bag of souls.
Yeah, spend those souls.
I'm having trouble with taking magic damage, I assume. I assume magic damage is what the bell ringer dudes are doing.
I guess that they're doing magic damage is what I would guess, yeah.
So faith, just 1 point of faith gives me a ton of magic damage. Should I just throw a few points in the faith?
Does it give you magic damage or does it give you magic resistance? Okay, yeah.
I think you're more likely to want to invest in just Googling, is there an early level where you can get a magic resistant shield rather than putting points into magic resistance? Because if you're doing a build where you're going to be holding a shield, more than likely you're going to get a lot more mileage out of putting that into anything but.
Patrick, like I'm not sure I'm going to be doing a shield build.
Okay.
I'm thinking like.
so the life is sometimes. How often do you hit the triangle button?
Like never.
Yeah. So dual wielding a weapon, you can still block. You can still. It doesn't do nearly as. It's not nearly as good as a proper shield, but. Like with the weapon I have now, like this fire sword I've got, it quite literally doubles the damage output.
And then you get like parry timings down the left hand, right? Is that how that works?
I don't think you can parry. You're basically just saying at that point, I'm going in for the big damage. Yeah. And that's the kind of swing.
And you're doing like big claymore swings or like just overhead huge. So this is the thing. In Latria, what I ended up doing was I switched from my mace to a sword because I wasn't fighting skeletons anymore. I switched to this bastard sword. And I'm almost entirely used the two-handed, I want to say heavy, maybe it was light, because it was vertical slashes. And that whole level is, 1 or 2-1 in Latria is just thin halls, narrow hallways.
Yeah, I can't.
Big sweeps are just going to fuck you, right? Yeah. And I actually was thinking about, so I beat 2-1 over the weekend, or maybe it was like on Friday. And I just love that level design so much because at the very, very end, and this is a very light mechanical spoiler, it opens up a little bit and you have to fight someone who is very fast and moves around a lot. And after like hours of being in these narrow hallways, needing to switch back to that open air arena style fight was like, fuck this. Like I have to deprogram my brain from thinking with vertical slashes and thinking broadly again, thinking, horizontally. And that is just like, it's so good at communicating like the ways in which that place encloses you and keeps you locked in. And then you break out of that. It feels really sick. And I still have my qualms, like I said before, about the way Latria looks. But those fights still rule. I can't wait for you to get to that boss. Patrick, I cannot wait for him to get to even just the 2-1 boss because of how that fight goes. I don't know if you remember the trick on that fight.
Well, 2-1, the spider?
No, sorry, not 2-1, 3-1. What's Latria's 3, right? Latria's 3? I always get this confused in my brain.
2-1 is the mines, and you fight the spider, in which there is a trick.
There is also a trick there that I did not learn.
No, there is. I mean, I know you didn't because you had a fire-resistant shield, but it's very common to just be like, it's one of the weaker bosses in Demon Souls.
I need to upload my spider fight because it ends with me literally just standing in fire and being like, fuck you. I don't care. Like he does the spit, the fire spit.
Carry at the end of that fight.
I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. Let's just go. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, how are you not getting hit by the lava?
Oh, I got hit by it once. I stood up and I hit him in the fucking face till he died.
All right,
it was good.
Well, the first Latria boss is
Fool's Idol.
Oh, Fool's Idol. Yeah,
which has a little. But do you remember the other thing about that fight?
The trick. Yes.
The trick.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just the first time the game baits you into wondering if you can do a certain thing that other games don't let you do, but in this game you absolutely can.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So the weird thing is, last night though was a repetition of every reason I stopped playing this game the first time.
Right.
Like the weird thing is, like there for good, I was fully in the like, this is just Massacre bullshit. I hate this. This is like, why am I doing this?
And then you had a breakthrough.
Also, it was just so infuriating because it was like, I knew the trick. I had almost done it. I had done it in the first 20 minutes when I went in with no expectations and I was loose. And I was just like, I'm just going to see how this goes.
Yep.
And then the rest of the night was trying to get back there and having to relearn everything. Like what I'd done sort of unconsciously, now I had to do consciously. It was fucked. I hated it. But also, like, I do understand now this, like, I am just on the other side of a divide I used to find perplexing.
If you never played past Tower Knight, like if you just stopped here and said, like, you've at least had the arc. You like the frustration to the build to the release to the swagger, the arrogance, like all of those emotions. Like you've had like that what you have with the Tower Knight is like what you chase with like every fight with every one of these games. Is that exact like feeling? Like every part of it, the depths of despair and like the heights. Those are the attractive qualities of playing these games. Is you don't appreciate how much you appreciated being fucking mad at a video game until you get released from it. But that is ultimately part of the appeal.
100%. 100%. And I feel like there is a degree there too, Rob, where that thing that you describe, that feeling of like, I know how to beat this thing, and then experiencing that lack of bodily control that means you can't achieve it, is part of the thing that I think makes this such an interesting and important series to me. Is like, I like it when a game reminds me that my mind and my body are not in sync sometimes, and that even though because so many other games, like, I know what I'm doing, I know how to beat this boss, I'm going to beat this boss, right? If I think about, I beat Miles Morales over the weekend also, which I really liked. I'll talk about in a second. But there was never a point in that where I was like, I understand how to defeat the Rhino. Unfortunately, my hands just won't do the thing. And I really like Demon Souls because of the way that it separates you from that in a way that is extended, not just in a way where like, it's a fluke that I lost, but it really foregrounds the way you can get into your own head. Your
instincts betray you. You end up rolling and you're like, why? You know,
I know not to
how many times do you say to yourself, like, why did I do that? I know I shouldn't have done that. And instead I did the thing. And that is constantly where it's just like your guttural instinct betrays like your mental process of like what you are supposed to do.
And that is so often about just aligning themselves to your guttural instincts, or like popular games are, if that makes sense. Like there's a degree to which when I play Far Cry 5 or whatever, it's like, okay, whatever your guttural instinct is, go for it, buddy. We're going to let you build towards that. And Demon Souls is like, no, remember, keep that shit leashed. You know, you will know when it's time to bring that out. If you're careful and patient, you can bust that out when the boss has a little bit of health left and you earned it. But do not do that at the beginning of the fight. You will lose. Do not do that when you've already gotten 2 hits. Don't go for that 3rd hit when it's a meaningless hit that won't win you the fight anyway. Don't do it. And anytime that a game is willing to like be in that space is distinct at the very least. So I'm very glad to have you here with us in Broken Brain Souls land. We are very welcoming here of you.
Understanding. When you're here, you're family.
When you're here, you're family.
Just tattoo picture of the prisoners in the Tower of Latria.
Yes,
true. Exactly. Yeah, it's me inside the not the bowls, but like the. What are some of the prisoners stuck in some of the weirder?
Like the Iron Maidens?
The vases, the big vases.
Yes, the vases. I'm not sure if you've gotten far enough, Rob, but there are instances where you'll just see like, yes, there are like these all these torture chambers, and some of them they're caught in like these vices and stuff. And then there is just like a vase, and they're just like, feel
I think I accidentally smashed a couple out.
Oh yeah. Well, look,
right.
They're worth a couple of souls. You might as well.
So I felt.
They're really
and also Rob, it's so one of the things that, you know, I don't know if you'll end up playing the other games. I forget if Dark Souls 2 and 3 kept this, but like Dark Souls 1 introduced this tiny but kind of important tweak, which is that if you fight certain enemies enough times, the game removes them from the game world. In which, like, if you fight like a certain zombie enough times, like they'll just stop appearing. I forget like how that triggers, how it works, but like you can just like if you're going down the same hallway 1,000,000 times, like it can like you can bend the curve of it to yourself at a certain point, and that just doesn't happen in like Demon Souls. Like gives no quarter.
I thought that was yeah. I think that's Dark Souls 2. I'm pretty sure it's 2.
I can't remember where that plays out, but I remember that being a controversial change.
That is why I believe it's 2, because I believe that was part of the reason why people didn't like Dark Souls 2 when it launched. Was I can't grind indefinitely because they remove enemies, which was never a problem. There's enough enemies to grind regardless.
Yes,
but because it was a change. That's what I recall. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was there in 1 too. But I feel like it was a. I feel like that was
that feels like a 2 change. I would not be shocked if that's actually where that played out.
Totally. Anyway, briefly before we take a break, I did just burn through Miles Morales this weekend.
Oh, wait. Sorry. I have a question about Demon Souls.
Please, let's stay on Demon Souls.
Because fucking I started it last night.
Oh, hell yeah.
Instead of going to sleep early because I fucking stayed up till 4 in the morning the night before, I was like, fuck it, I'll play Demon Souls today now that I'm done with the fucking raid in Destiny. How do you level?
You have to beat the first boss first.
Oh, fuck that. Are you kidding me? I'm carrying around all these fucking souls and I gotta go beat a boss?
Yeah. Well, you can go just buy healing items.
I was gonna say, if you're really afraid of losing them, you can go to that one,
God damn it.
Shop owner too.
I was like, man, there aren't any more bonfires in this place, and then I figure out the little loop.
They just don't. I mean,
they don't exist in this game.
Yeah, it's only.
Is that not just
bosses.
this one? I thought it was just this one because of the way the shortcuts work out.
Nope.
Fuck.
Nope. No bonfires except for boss bonfires.
The lengths you have to go to get to bosses in Demon Souls is so much longer than the lengths you have to go to in like any other game.
I was like, even in Dark Souls 1, I was like, I would hit a bonfire by now. What the fuck is going on? And it's like,
it really is.
Wow. Okay.
I feel so alive.
Fucking shit.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Fuck.
God. All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna go figure out what threw that fucking spear out the fog.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're there. Just go beat the boss.
Yeah, you're right there.
You're at the boss.
Yeah,
beat that boss.
I mean, it was a giant door opened and
also,
came out,
just to relieve your fear, then your souls will be right there because you know where that giant door is, right?
Right.
You figured out where that.
Yeah. It's right at the beginning.
You start right in front of it.
Yeah.
If you go in and die, you can get your souls back.
Okay.
I believe in your ability to.
But you have to if you then you have to beat the boss to spend. Yeah, then you have to beat the boss to spend them.
Yes.
So as long as I don't,
you might.
Well, that's the thing about losing souls in these games. It's like, oh yeah, I can always get them back as long as I don't die before I pick them up again.
Right. Oh, that's just It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Okay.
All right. Briefly on Miles before we take a break. I played through all of Miles Morales in like 3 days. What a well-paced game that is. I don't know.
Yep.
Did either of you beat that?
Yeah, I know. I finished it about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, cool.
Really, I think
why aren't our
it ends really well.
It ends really well.
I really like the way it ends.
I was like fucked up throughout that game for all the reasons I set up last time about being in New York. And that game ends with, without giving details away, a sort of scavenger hunt around the city as like a post game thing that you get.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting the clues for those postcards and knowing where to go before I even like open the map because I live here. And like, you know, I when that first Spider-Man game came out, I complained a lot about their depiction of the city because it doesn't make sense if you live here the way that it's been crammed together. And like, you know, Madison Square Park, which is not a huge important park in the culture of New York, is huge in that game. Whereas like Union Square is a tiny baby park in that game. And like that stuff doesn't make sense. But the general layout is right. And it's very good at evoking that feeling of like quickly passing by a place. I'm like, oh yeah, I know this. Oh, I used to work here. Oh, this is where such and such, right? And also weirdly, Madison Square Park does hold I have a lot of fondness for that park because it's right near the CBS Interactive offices. So when I was at Giant Bomb, I went to that park every day. So seeing the city in the winter, like I said last week, like genuinely fucked me up all the way through. I think there's some really touching stuff building on the sense of New York. I think Gita is totally right around the stuff about Harlem not being in real life the thing they want it to be in the game in terms of like socioeconomic status, gentrification and stuff. It's not the place that shit is happening right now, but I do still think that it's a good stand-in to tell that story. It's still a story about gentrification and about big tech. I still think the villain Simon Krieger is like an absolute incredible piece of shit, like Elon Musk bastard, and I love that they basically just made evil Tony Stark as their villain for this game.
And he doesn't even have that much like time spent fleshing up. There's like just enough for you to be like that. There's
motherfucker. They never give him there's no like, oh,
here's why he did it. His 100%. Daughter died. And so then he, you know.
He's just a shitty capitalist. They don't try to like redeem him even lightly. They don't try to give him they spend that time somewhere else, which makes a lot more sense. I think Miles' relationship with people is good throughout that whole game. I think there's a lot of really strong performances. And
it takes especially relative, I love the MCU, but it had like the MCU has like real trouble with emotional stakes. Yes. It is always so obsessed with the next story, and there's always just a feeling of, oh well, whatever's happening, like it'll all kind of neatly tidy itself up by the end. And one of the things I really liked about the original Insomniac Spider-Man was that like it took some really, I feel like a lot of people are playing that for the first time, so I don't want to immediately say some of the things that happened at the end. Yes. But it makes some really surprising storytelling choices that I had a lot of respect for, and it had a lot of emotional resonance. And I would say Miles, even though that game blew up and you could see a world where they're like, all right, shit, we got to be a little more conservative with how we're going to play with the characters, because we're probably going to make like 6 of these games in the next 10 years. They still really go for it in ways that I think landed really well, and I found to be I found myself far more emotionally taken. Like the final boss battle in particular.
It's so good. It's the first.
I was like on the edge of my seat.
Me too.
Like,
you know what it made me feel?
And
like
it wasn't hard. I was beating it easily, but I was
just
like, I was just like charged in the same way that his venom like power charged him. Like I felt electric in that fight.
Remember in like the PS2 era where you would see a God of War like quick time event and be like, damn, I wish this was what the game was. This is the first time a boss fight has felt like, and I know like people are like, well, what else out of the closet? But there is the sense of kind of kinetic energy that is in quick time events in action games.
But it's also 2 small scale characters. It's not using like scale in the way of a shadow across your gun. But I mean,
you know what I mean, right?
It also makes it more impressive.
Yes, that sense of like, I'm doing something that would previously have been confined to cutscenes. The way that this action...
Or QuickTime events, which the original Spider-Man had way too many of. And this game I don't think it has any. Doesn't have it.
Or maybe it has a couple... It has them doing like the car chase things, where you're like dodging and then whatever. Right. Anyway, the way that you're destroying an environment in that fight, the way that you're like just moving in and out of the like fist fight range, basically, it's just like it's stunning. It's so well done for one of these. Like it nails it. And I also just think, again, the pacing in this game is really good in terms of it unlocks just enough side content every couple of hours for you to go fuck around and go get all these boxes, go get all these collectibles, go get all these whatever.
There's just enough on your way to the next story beat.
I'm never
like, I'll do these 3 or 4 things on my way there. I'll rarely use the fast travel.
Right. Totally. Which we should talk about. We should come back from
do that.
We'll talk about that
stuff.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say is just like, I've been thinking a lot about what makes me respond to this game better than the Peter Parker game. I think part of it is tonally. Also, in my mind, I've started calling that first one Peter Parker and this one Miles Morales, which is just funny. But I think that tonally, Miles is such an interesting character. I think this was true for Spider-Verse. It's true for the comics. Because it gets you all the way up to the meta line where you can you can have a piece of Spider-Man media talking about Spider-Man as a media object. There's a sequence in this game. There's a number of sequences in this game where Peter Parker has left behind kind of hollow training devices. And if you do all of them, you get a special final one. And in that one, Pete is narrating, without giving too much away, is kind of pretending to be a villain that you fight, to try to give you some training. And that, one, it allows Pete to bounce off Miles in a really funny way. But 2, it allows the whole game is able to talk about Spider-Man tropes and cliches and things that are built into the character and built into the history of the comic from the perspective of someone who is outside of it, but still inside of it. It's like this really interesting double move because it allows you to have the perspective of someone being like, this is ridiculous. Like, why are you always fighting weird old man animals? What is up with you, Pete? But at the same time, you have someone who can become invested in that story in a way that is more than what you can get invested in as an outsider because he's right there next to him. And that like feels very 2020 in a way that feels like the only way to do one of these without it feeling overly sincere or tired, which ended up being part of my stuff with that original Spider-Man game is like, I know who Dr. Octopus is. I know where this is going. And I think that they did what they were doing well. I know who Norman Osborn is, right? It's not going to be a surprise when Norman Osborn turns out to be a fucking shitheel. And I know that they were going for the thing of like, hey, we're not trying to tell a surprising story. We're trying to tell an emotionally resonant story. You know these pieces, but we can put them together in an interesting way. I know that's comics generally, but the kind of slight distance that Miles gives you, I think, ends up breathing a lot of life into a lot of these places. And also, he has his own supporting cast, and his supporting cast kicks ass. Like, all the stuff with his mom is great. All the stuff with Genki is really strong. I think that they did justice by it. Again, for disclosure's sake, Evan and I have worked on a comic before. Evan co-wrote this game. Evan Narciss. So obviously I'm biased because I went in to be like, what's my friend doing here? What did my friend make? But I would have also, I am the friend who would have been like, yo, you missed the mark on this one. Sorry. And so he didn't, and that team did a great job, and I'm very happy with it. And frankly, the fact that I finished it alone, it says something, because I thought it would be shorter than it is. And it very much got me in one of those late night, like, is this 10 minutes left, or is this 2 hours left? You know what? I don't care. I'll give it the 2 hours. And it would end up being more like 3.
But you could have checked.
I could have checked. We'll take a break and we'll come back and we'll talk about the fact that I could have checked and failed to after this.
How do I get magic?
You
there
have to buy it from. Yeah, there are 2 magic vendors.
There are.
Well, 3, I guess. There are 2 people in the Nexus. You can buy magic from. One of them won't talk to you depending on your class.
It's how much magic you have, I believe. In your the stat, yeah, I believe.
I thought that Freak is the one who I had to bump my magic up to 10 to get him to talk to me.
No, even that first guy won't.
Oh, he will, even though he's like, you're a heretic. Yeah. But if you get your magic up enough,
no, the heretic guy is Faith.
Okay,
the heretic guy with like the guy with the band with the.
I haven't talked to the guy next to Freak in a while, but he wouldn't. Yeah. He was just like, I have no time for people like you. But maybe that's related to my magic.
I believe that guy is. Yeah, I believe that guy is also low magic score. If you go talk to him, he'll probably talk to you now.
How does it fire? Do you equip it like it's a bow, or?
Yeah. It's like it's like up on the D-pad in that section is where you manage your magic.
It's kind of funny because it's kind of janky in a way that's like. You don't see, and you would expect today a more complex magic system, but here, you just hit you equip it like it's a bow, and then you hit R1 to fire it with when you have a catalyst in your hand or a wand, whatever.
Yeah, there's 2 types of magic casting. It's either you have like a little pendant, and then there's also like a regular wand, and so you have to equip those specific to what that spell is. Like the pendant is for healing spells and curing poison, and then attack spells tend to be the
wand.
But it's like it is actually like it's funny. Like my character, I like re-rolled being like I'm not going to be a royal, and now I'm just like unlocking things that like let me like spec slightly in the direction of a royal, and I'm just like I bought a soul arrow, but I'm not putting much magic into it. It's just nice to be able to
nice to shoot stuff sometimes.
To shoot stuff, and I hate using all of the bow and arrow stuff. Like it's just not fun to use any of that stuff. And
it's a real piece of shit.
Latria specifically has a bunch of shit that is like hanging that you want to shoot down.
I need to run back through with a bow and arrow to go get all that stuff.
You know what I used for that stuff? I used throwing knives and then like the poison knives that you get, just manually trying to line.
Oh, you can manually throw them?
Yeah, you can aim it up and like try to dial it in, and I did it. I got everything in that level. So listen, fair.
I'm sitting there plinking the fucking Cthulhu's with my bow and arrow, just because like. It pulls them nicely, at least, so I can be like, yeah, follow me around this corner, and I will just fuck you up before you can fire off your attack.
They don't respond to sound, so as long as they're going in like their turnaround backwards, like if they're walking away from you, you can't just like
backstab,
get up, do, and that always triggers their area of effect like spell. That's like so like all of you just hit them like 2 or 3 times, then you can run away, and enemies don't follow you particularly far.
Oh, I hit them 2 or 3 times; they're done.
Nice. Okay.
Okay. The upgrades to the falchion and the stats I've got, like I just need to get like 3 attacks on these dudes. But
when
the
you
problem
go get the crescent. Like change your life.
Where is it again?
It's
4-1.
4-1.
That means nothing. Swamps.
Storms.
From left to right on those stones. It's the 4th one from the left.
Well, you're good. I'm fighting a gargoyle, so
nice. Some enemies will fucking. You know how you know an enemy's dangerous when that fucker will chase you longer than you expect.
Oh, did you find that red eyes?
Is that what that is? Yes, it's got red on its face.
Don't give up.
I did not.
There's a trick.
I backed up out of I went back across that tiny little bridge, and then I went up to the bridge that goes across in front of that fog door. Went all the way across before I lost it, I think. But it was going for a while. I expected it to stop once I got inside that first door.
I was like, man, I thought I was so smart. I waited around the corner for him. It was like, he's going to run through into this room and I'm going to get him.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the red eyes. He's going to run through the door. I'll be like, surprise, motherfucker. And like, I went hit him as hard as I could. It went like plink. And then
I didn't even try.
Yeah.
There's this fucking thing about the range at which an enemy notices you also sometimes belies how fucking strong they are. And that motherfucker spotted me from way too far. I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm gone.
Oh yeah.
I cannot fuck with this guy.
They're very hard. There is a trick. You could cheese him. There's a way to cheese that motherfucker because he follows you indefinitely, and there are places he shouldn't go to. So
that's interesting.
You can win that fight in a very cheesy way. Anyway, it is less clever than you think it is.
Okay.
I also had a key realization playing this.
Yes.
Now I know it's a different game.
Chat. Everybody, we're back.
Like etc.
Yeah.
But something has occurred to me. I think one reason Demon Souls might have been so hard is my TV was way less good.
Oh, fair.
No, like
listen.
So you know those tall those towers with the open staircases in Boletarian Palace and like the dudes with the flame swords around them? When I played that on PS3, it was like just glimmering flames in the darkness were like moving around like a void. That is how that entire sequence appeared to me. And so like fighting those dudes was just a nightmare because it was like a glowing flaming sword would just appear out of the darkness and like fuck you up. And like now it just all reads way, way better. Because I suspect my setup is a little better, and
I also think that
this game is lighter. This game is
100%. Like the prison, the Latrian, the Tower of Latria is just brighter than it used to be.
Yeah, I love it.
And in a way that's it's cool. It's a very cool place. And
well, you know how I love choral music.
I do know this. And the fact that it's have you realized it's diegetic yet? Have you seen where it comes from yet?
Dude, I went to a cell and the music died off. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's very cool. It's very cool. Good game. Good game, IMO. All right, I'm gonna stop playing it, and so we can do the rest of this podcast. We're just back. I think somewhere in there we came back.
I'll figure something out. Sure. Yeah.
Are we getting into Patrick destroying video games?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about how Patrick Klepek destroyed video games.
The efficiency expert, Patrick Klepek.
Yeah,
that's me.
That's you.
Yeah, I wrote a piece that went up on Friday. Hey, look, man, when you write a piece on a Friday, it's going up in the afternoon. You're like, man, you know, most of the time, this is I just filled a content hole. Like, good for me. Like, my editor is happy. Something went up on the website, but you're kind of just pitching it into the void. And I tweeted it out, and it blew up in a way that I did not expect. The title of it is PS5's activity system makes playing open world games brutally efficient. The long and short of it is that I beat Miles Morales, and that was a game in which my style of play was it sounds a lot like you, Austin. The way that they set it up was like I would see the next story beat, I would tag that, and then I would look at like what are the collectibles I can do along the way, and then like every 45 seconds I'm pulling up the map to see where can I set. I wish you could set up multiple waypoints. I really wish you could do like let me tag the collectibles so I can see those in front of me along the way. I hope they do that in the sequel. But I'd kind of bring it up and I'd see, oh, there's a chest over here. That's a tiny little puzzle that I can do along the way. And so you would end up doing a handful of that stuff. And then I beat the game. I was like, I wanna stick around here. There's a couple side quests that open up at the end. I wanted to do the Uncle Aaron collectible bit at the end. So the things I still wanted to do. And also I like genuinely swinging is just so satisfying in Miles Morales that I just wanted a reason to kind of stick around here. But because I'd cleaned up a lot of the game, there would be cases where it's like, well, there's not much on this map for me to go. It's just like I'm on this side of the map and that collectible is on that side of the map. And I like the swinging.
You like swinging, but not that much.
Yeah, but not for like 3.5 minutes.
Especially
straight.
once you're done like any of the podcasty things in game. Or
podcasty things, I've already done. I've already done all the trick, things that you can build up by doing those over and over. And so you can, there's a couple things you can't directly warp to an area, but you can. There are like subway spots that you can go to, and that'll take you close, like in the vicinity. There's like enough of them, you'll be like within spitting distance. But the PS5 has these activity cards that if you hit the PlayStation button once, it brings up your trophy progress. And it also, depending on the game, because this is implemented on a per game basis, it can let you do different things. You can kind of warp to different parts of the game based on what the developers have programmed. In Demon's Souls, for example, you can jump between worlds that way. Like if you've been to an area, the game will sort of mark like, oh, you were here and you haven't finished up here. Would you like to go back to, world 2-1? And you can just do that instead of going to the like actual level select screen at an archstone. And in Miles Morales, you can it's like, hey, Patrick, actually, you didn't finish up that last stealth challenge. Like, do you just want to go to it? And it doesn't warp you there, put you around the corner from it, and you still got to climb up the building. It's like, no, you select that, it warps you to it, and the stealth challenge has started. Like the dialogue with Peter Parker has kicked in. Or if there's a side quest that you need to start, when you select that, it doesn't. Again, take you near it. It literally puts you in front of the character with the button prompt ready to go. Triangle is just hit that triangle and off you go, and you can start doing this side quest. And so I wrote this piece kind of explaining how I think Miles Morales is a pretty well balanced, efficient game, even by open world standards. But it still has fluff. It has fluff because all of these games have fluff, and there are times where I'm okay with fluff. I'm all right with it. Maybe I'd be happier if it was better fluff, but I'm okay just kind of doing a thing in this world, putting out a podcast and just going at it. And so I found the activity bars to be very useful for that because it was basically turned it into a checklist. It became a menu. I opened up a debug menu for the game. It was just I'm going to click this and then I'm going to go straight to it. I'm going to accomplish that task. I'm going to pull up the next one and I'm going to go do the next one. And I'm skipping the open world part of it. And part of the kind of enormous response I got was this idea of, there's a lot of things. Is this just sort of stripping naked how bullshit the Ubisoftification of video games over the last decade has become, where truly these games are a checklist and the open world of it is a bullshit facade? I don't know that I disagree with that. And that may be part of the attraction of the activity stuff. A lot of people were like, well, what's the point of why, you're missing the immersive experience part of playing a game like this by skipping all that stuff. And it's well, I did that for 15 hours. I'm good. I got that immersive part. I just want to kind of clean up some of the activities. And so it was interesting because again, it's on a developer by developer basis how this stuff is going to be implemented. It's not nearly as granular in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for example. Yeah, I was just
which is interesting because that's the same sort of game, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Right, there are side events. There are things you could do. There are ways in which you could imagine. All right, jump me to the nearest raid. Jump me to the next whatever. Though also there's so much more content in Valhalla that I wonder if that's not possible.
I played a lot of Valhalla this weekend, and I think what's interesting is this approach in Spider-Man. is, I think, getting at the Ubisoftification is kind of bullshit. Just cut to, look, you're here to complete this chain of quests. Just go here. You don't want to fucking find it. Just go. Get it. What's interesting is Valhalla is trying so hard to make the world feel like, hey, these things can just happen. Like, by default, that is obscuring what is out there in the world and what sort of tasks you're going to get into. And it's trying to make it so that, because I think this is the real problem with the direction open world games have become. We talked about this before. Like, you create this huge expansive open world, but it just becomes empty space separating the actual parts of the game that you're playing. And you just transit these, like, often beautiful but kind of meaningless spaces to get to the thing where the stuff actually happens. And so, like, it's interesting that on the one hand you've got Sony and Spider-Man being like, look, you want to just, like, run through all the shit content we got in this game? That stuff we just threw in there so you can do it, and, like, there'll be fun little, like, hey, you're Spider-Man, and you just get all that stuff out of the way.
And you absolutely can, right? Like, if you play this game from the start, as opposed to me, where I'm going to do this stuff on cleanup, you can't skip to story missions. Like, you could just play this game like it is like an old Super Nintendo game where it's like, do you want to just skip to that story mission? Like, boom, you're in it. Like, once you finish that story mission, do you want to just pull up the activities menu, go to the next story mission? Boom, you can. And I think that's the reaction. Like, I don't think a lot of people, I looked at the traffic on the story relative to the traffic on my social media.
Yeah, of
and
course.
It seemed very indicative. People were responding more to my prompt than they were to, like, explaining how I engaged with it. But, because I think the sort of heated reaction was more along the that you just did of like, oh, they built this big space where, like, a lot of the game is like dynamic movement and, like, swinging through, like, a beautiful intricate city that's been laid out in very specific ways for you to engage with it. And it's like, oh, like, would you just like to consume the next story beat? Like, just hit X on the menu, and it feels like cheating or you're sidestepping part of the experience. And, like, I think that's what ended up engineering a lot of the, like, reaction I saw from folks was folks wanting to do that relative to engaging with the game on quote unquote its own terms. I
have two beefs. One of them, I'm paraphrasing Dante Douglas, friend of the site, and one of his beefs, the one that I think I share, is I think it looks bad. I think it looks fine in Miles because it looks like Miles, but it looks like shit if I was going to use it in Dark Souls. It's the PS5, like, crossbar stuff is aesthetically like only the PS5 crossbar stuff, and presumably like kind of first party Sony presentation, and it immediately aesthetically, like, doesn't fit anything else. So that's, like, a low key one, but I think it's true. If this was built into the AC Valhalla stuff, I think that like suddenly becomes more survivable.
Demon Souls look like a video rental store.
100%. It cheapens the entire thing.
Because you hit the button,
Demon Souls is here.
Yeah, exactly.
I can find the Tower Knight.
It looks like the fucking UI in a hotel room. You know what I mean? Like, could we get some Tower Knight up here? Could we? Is the kitchen still open?
Look, I don't want my I don't want this on my credit card.
Yeah, can you just put this? Can I put this on a separate bill? Actually, we just charge this right now.
My company will be weird. Like, I can't. We use Concur. Do you guys have Concur? I can't put Tower. It'll be like 8 emails getting this sorted out.
So that's one. The more important one for me is a friend of mine on Twitter, Nick Horowitz, was like, I think this is great because it removes a lot of friction from games. And I'm someone with limited schedule, and I 100% get that for my friend Nick. Or like, I don't have kids, so the use case for this is much different for me than someone who has kids and 20 minutes to do something.
Well, and that's what I mean. I'll let you finish your point, but like just to put additional context, like part of what I put in the story too was that when you're pulling up those activities, it is giving you that time marker as well, right? So it's saying, like when you said, like, I don't care how long it's going to take me to finish Miles Morales, and I was like, well, I'm often thinking that because it's like 11 o'clock, and it's like, well, I have to be in bed by midnight. That's that's what I put myself to bed by. And when it says like, oh, this mission is going to take 30 minutes, I'm like, oh, cool, like, all right, I can play the game for another 30 minutes. Whereas if it said, hey, this is going to take an hour plus, I was like, all right, well, I'll probably do this tomorrow. Like, I'll just go to bed early and not worry about it.
Right.
And so like that was part of the joy of like that jumping around is like, oh, all right, well, my daughter's sleeping for probably the next 45 minutes. I was like, I can bank a couple of these challenges that I haven't done and just jump between them because it all says about 10 minutes. I was like, I can do 3 of them. Anyway, that's just to set up.
So I think that vision of games is I think that this whole process gets us to, and probably the reason we're so heated about this, is that this gets us to an unresolved like internal conflict about what we think games are and where they fit into our lives. Because the idea of doing this for movies seems absurd. Imagine watching a movie with all the dead air cut out, right? I just want dialogue all the time, baby. I don't want longing shots. I don't want people looking at each other across the table and trying to like figure out what they're thinking about each other right now.
Dr. Zhivago in just 25 minutes.
Exactly, right. Exactly that. Get rid of any sort of establishing shots. Get them out. Because that's what... Okay, so the end of my Breath of the Wild, the friction is good. That is where I'm going with this. The end of my Breath of the Wild review ends on me saying the capper to this thing that I'm like, I love this game, blah, blah, blah. The thing that I think sums that up the most, I say in my review, is you can never fast travel to a town in that game. You can never fast travel to your destination. You can fast travel to a shrine you've been to before, but then from there, you have to travel the distance from there to your destination. It's like the subways in Miles Morales. And because of that, you have this sense of momentum, of distance, of travel all the time. If I could teleport right to my house in Hateno Village, then I would just be in my house. But you have to travel outside of Hateno Village. You have to walk through the gates again or walk through the front pathway. You have to do that everywhere you go in that game, and that communicates something. That is the establishing shot. That is the verb of the establishing shot for the game developer. It lets them set up your view of a place before you come into it. And for me, that part of the way I think about games is important, and I wouldn't want to lose that even if it meant I could sneak in one extra side activity into the 1 hour I have a day to play a certain thing.
But that game justifies like the stories that will occur on your way to that. Like that is part of the
but it's not about stories. It's not. I'm not talking about. That is not what this is with Zelda. It literally is just you're looking at basically a framed picture because you're coming into a shrine and then walking to the stable. The stable is like right across the field, 50 feet from you.
Sure.
But that is an important thing and a decision that they made about where and what you could fast travel to. And the reason for that is they found value in the friction. They found value in there's 50 steps to take there. And I am someone who, if we're thinking about games in the same conversation that we're thinking about film and books and other forms of art, that friction is valuable and kind of cutting it away is risky or changes them. It moves them to me to be something more consumable, less long lasting. And that's fine. Like, I think, again, this is why I think this gets to a conversation about,
I think Miles has no friction in that. Like that swinging for 3.5 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm just swinging for 3.5 minutes.
But that's friction. You being like, ugh, I'm swinging for 3.5 minutes. I just want to get to the place.
But I don't learn anything about the city. I mean, just like in that 3.5 minutes, I think the game needs, like, what I'd like to see is, I think the moment that I'm less interested in doing that. I mean, yes, partially it is like the weight of like parenting and time efficiency and COVID. Like, there's all sorts of things that like exasperate an existing sort of like analysis of like the time in the game and how you're spending it. It is also the case where it's like at a certain point, it's like, well, game, you stop justifying why I should. The friction isn't like I play Demon Souls. Like it's not as though I'm like I am opposed to a game like pushing back.
Where you're
I play
always
a hard game.
on like 10
Yeah, I play hard games. Like that's my thing. Like that is part of my brand. Is like I like to play hard things and have them punch me in the face. And this at a certain point was just like I'm just not. It's not that I'm not enjoying it. There's just nothing here. I am not. There's no value in even just the time spent going from one place to another. Like there's something I'm learning about the city.
That's a failure of the game at that point, right?
Yes, and I think that's my point. That's my point.
And at that point, it's an indictment of the style of game in which what we've decided this is the way that content should be presented to us. And the fact that what we've landed on, or what Sony's landed on, is a system-wide feature to organize your messy table into categories that you can quickly jump between, I think is as big of an indictment of the contemporary contemporary open world action game structure as anything you can see.
To use that metaphor that we were using before about film, it's like the open world structure of the game is all the raw footage you ever needed, and then you're putting in the cuts with this fucking fast travel, not fast. Well, yeah, it's basically
it is a fast travel system.
With this shortcut system.
Or the platform holder is now like, we need to build skip list functionality into games because of
there's
the way
too many
games
episodes
are made now.
Yeah.
And no, I think we are roughly all on the same page with this, because I think for me, I do love that friction. Like, I am somebody who almost never fast traveled in The Witcher because there was so much stuff that you might just stumble into going back through an area. There were so many minor quests, so many like odd vignettes you'd encounter. Like, I was always feeling rewarded for, I'm going to ride, I'll take the long way again. Oh, there's a monster hunt over there. I'll go do it. I also think back to like Far Cry 2, a game that did frustrate me in some ways, but I could never just take for granted that I was going to get from point A to point B without some shit happening. Like, could never. I was always like, okay, I got a long drive ahead of me. I better stop and stock up on ammo and fresh gear if I'm going to make this ride, because chances are I'm going to have like a couple gunfights on the way, and I got to be able to like tough those out. And then those things could take you in weird directions where you'd end up in a part of the world where like, oh, I'm having a gunfight in the sand dunes now. Didn't expect that was going to be a thing, but now here I am. Good thing I have the sniper rifle with me because I can see forever. But so many games by design, don't throw anything interesting at you on the path from point A to point B, or they throw something at you that by design you can just walk away from and evade, like trivially easy, like nothing will pursue. You'll just exit the radius. And so I do like... I like the feature in that it solves a problem that's become really commonplace, but it also highlights kind of an absurd problem that's become commonplace, which is we have these massive open world games, and increasingly we're like, it'd be cool as if this was just kind of linear and I could get to the stories and missions.
If your game can be reduced down to a cursor and a list of content that you can jump between, it might have already, your open world game specifically, it might have already been the case that what you were presenting was a list of things and the player character was the cursor, right? Miles is maybe already a cursor who's moving around a list of things that is the map of Manhattan. And at that point, and I don't know if that's true, because I actually really do love swinging around in that game. And that's not a friction in the negative sense. It's a positive, like, frisson that, like, the jumping, the swinging, the running on stuff. I was always enjoying that. But in a game that I think has a lot of bloat, let's say, in which you're moving around and trying to clean up, like again, especially a later Far Cry game where you're just like, there's a billion fucking things to go do. That already felt like a checklist. We called them checklists, and so
and lots of players love checklists, like that stuff.
Well, this is why I say
is bloat. And also, one of my best friends, like, he's played Red Dead Redemption 3 times. Right. He played it. He bought it on a different platform just to be like, there's a new checklist, and I'm gonna play with a different controller. And does like the hunting channel. Like, there are people. Those people exist.
Well, this is why I'm saying. This is why I said at the very beginning, not my position is fuck this. Right. I think that this gets to an unresolved conflict in the way that we culturally think and talk about games, which is, are they things for us to spend our time with, to whittle away? Are they a pastime? Or are they an art form? And those things aren't necessarily in conflict necessarily.
And a game can be both to two different people, which I think is like a lot of what's happening here.
The market requires them to be both. The market wants them both to be, listen, we want to take the money from anyone who wants to put 100 hours into this thing. And also we want to win awards and position ourselves for cultural prestige and be referenced by famous people about as a thing that they do, and that they, oh wow, I actually really like the story in this. Like, the games are trying to be that really big tent for experiences right now, because we talk about games as if they're super, 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 super popular, and they're very popular. But I think the money that they make actually obfuscates how close they are to still being kind of irrelevant in cultural discourse, with a few exceptions of breakthrough stuff, and also obfuscates how close the industry is at all times to falling apart, because a few bad quarters could fuck up most major publishers still. And I think that like the fact that they're trying to appeal to as many people as possible puts you in that place that's really tough, where you go like, yes, we want to appeal to people who are going to say that the story is really well written and really well acted, and also we want to appeal to Patrick's friend who wants to play through Red Dead Redemption 3 times.
When he gets every new Assassin's Creed comes out, he doesn't touch the story until he's done all of the side objectives in the game, has completely cleaned the map up, has played 100 hours of this video game.
Right.
And then starts the story.
Right.
And
he's doing puzzles. It's like doing puzzles or doing like literal,
Rob is shaking his head. It blows me away every time he describes it to me too. And then in response to writing the story, multiple people like talked about different versions of like, that's how they play these types of games, or different, I would call eccentric, like, but seems to be more common. And just also, I think illustrates like the big tent, like philosophy these games are designed under. And then a feature like this then exists to like highlight that like big tent, like design structure that may, infuriate a lot of people who are, especially engaging on Twitter, are going to be like, games are art. Like, I want to experience
we are
like
such a small.
But we are outliers relative.
I have to say
this feature will be used by like, I bet Sony's internal metrics will be like, this is such an enormous hit. We are going to push third parties to really embrace this, because people fucking love being able to jump around the map more easily than even engaging in the map itself. While there'll be like 1,000 takes written that are like, this is a destroyed game.
Totally.
Like,
I think a lot of times people think that. I think specifically, maybe we think more generally, on the podcast, that we have the right take, or that we think the world thinks like us. I think that could not be further from the fucking truth. I think that in general, the sorts of people who listen to Waypoint Radio and who are to the, who are in line with us, or even more radical than us in their appreciation of games and the way they think about games as art and what their standards are, we are like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the people who buy games in this world. It can be frustrating, because it's like, why don't more people think like me about this stuff? But the honest truth is that, like, it's what Patrick said. I think most people engage with games as toys, as things that like to whittle the time away, which I think is living under capitalism is a fucking perfectly fine way to spend your fucking night. I don't expect everyone to come into go into every movie trying to pick it apart. I don't expect everyone to read every book trying to pick it apart, or to have the sorts of relationships that we have with games with the rest of pop culture. I think that's an expected thing, but which is why I try to bring this whole conversation back to, what do you expect from companies? What do you expect from developers? What do you expect from the kind of industry side of this? Because that's what gets us to a point at which a feature like this seems like it makes sense to them. It's the support of that style of game design, that checklist game design from their side, and that's the sort of thing that you have to hold accountable. If what you want is a change in the way games are made, or the way that games are presented, or what game design looks like, I can't make fun of the individual who has 45 minutes, a night to play something and wants to cram everything in to that 45 minutes. We've been trained our whole lives to cram as much as we fucking can into 45 minutes. Rob, you have some thoughts.
No, I mean, I think the other thing that points to me is like just a recognition of the changing structure of people's lives. Like, to me, that becomes a less that aspect, the part where it's like, it'll take this long, is less about games and much more about just the way people now have to parcel out their time, and the fact that, like, for a lot of people now, you are the project manager for your own life. And I think that is a very alien thing. To, like, I think it would be very alien to my parents, for instance, to view leisure time that way. But I can totally understand, like, the motivations behind. It's the reason recipes always have, like, it'll take 45 minutes of prep and then 4 hours of cooking to get this done. Like, everybody has an internal clock they're counting down to see. Like,
every time I find out a TV show is 30 minutes long, I go, hallelujah, I can watch 2 episodes in a night. Thanks, Ted Lasso.
God, how is that? I hear it's really good.
It's good. It's heartwarming. It's a feel good show.
Yeah, so I've heard.
It's, if you buy an Apple device and you get that subscription for free, it's worth spending a couple hours watching.
Cool.
PS5 supports Apple, right? Yeah, they've got
it's on everything.
But it's not on the remote though, so I don't know how to get it.
It's not real.
Wow.
I just real quick, I just want to shit talk the PS5 UI and interface.
Feel free
for a second. The PS5 is the crashiest new console I've ever had. It locks up, it crashes, it's done it during miles, it does it whenever I try to upload a gameplay video. I was trying to upload the video of me fighting the armored spider I think it's called the armored spider, during the break.
Yeah.
And it crashed every time I got to the upload to YouTube button. Every single time. All of my games get sync cloud issues with their saves. Every single one is like, oh yeah, we couldn't sync this. And I look at the two files, they're the same file. It has synced it. It's just confused. Non-stop. I get weird stutters and lockups where I think it's struggling to load something right.
Souls does weird stutters.
Yeah.
It won't last very long, but like I'll be doing the run in I've been trying to do finish off Maneater in Latria.
Yeah.
And I'll load into the same area. Like I'm doing the same run path, and then just one every 3 times, it'll just go for half a second.
It's not that frame rate. That's the thing, right? It's not like, oh, the frame rate stutter. For me, that's not it. It's like it's locking the screen.
It's strange.
It's a weird. It feels bad. It feels like a crash is coming. And I'm just like, it's my hope is firmware fixes it, but just a heads up that I feel also there's some front USB port isn't working for some people.
People keep saying don't use the front USB port, use the back one.
No,
I mean this console, I had heard the OS was coming in. There's a reason they showed it really late, and it wasn't because they were we just want to show the OS at the last possible second as a fun surprise. It was no, this shit was coming together really, really fast, really, really late, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's maybe they're just there hasn't been small patches because they're waiting to do a big drop. Also, that watching this cyberpunk footage out there is
the
wild.
The PS4 cyberpunk
the PS4
footage?
Version. So the PS4 version being played on a PS4 Pro, right?
I think it's a Pro. The footage that leaked, PS4 Pro, correct. My biggest curiosity with that game increasingly is I want to see it running on a PS4. Or a launch Xbox One.
Yes, pre-patch PS4.
I
want to see that on a launch Xbox One.
Yes, whatever the lowest pre-patch, a disc copy without a patch. My biggest curiosity is, will that game be as transphobic as all of the marketing has been? Just a nightmare.
Well, there's already, the whole game's out there. That game's going to have no commentary playthroughs before any of us have code to play it.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Actually, really quick, saying on checklists. I did start saying on checklists in Breath of the Wild. I started Age of Calamity. I started Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity. That's the game about checklists, and it rules. I take it all back. I love checklists. I'm the checklist king.
The game in the world of Breath of the Wild. Love the checklist version of it.
But even that, I will say that that game does literally also present a way to see stuff in a checklist format or see it in a more flavorful way, which is that the structure of this game. So, have any of you played Dynasty Warriors games before?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Okay. So, a lot of older Dynasty Warriors games are you're in a campaign, you go from mission to mission to mission to mission, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Sometimes there'd be side stuff that you could do. Various variations on the Dynasty Warriors format change things up to here's the Empires mode where you're running a kingdom. Here's a mode where you're just playing one character all the way through their career or whatever. The way that Hyrule Warriors works is that it is telling the story of the backstory to Breath of the Wild. It takes place 100 years before Breath of the Wild. And it is telling that story through huge open, Dynasty Warrior style fights. But there are a bunch of different kinds of those. There are the big story ones that start with a new cutscene about the characters who you've met in Breath of the Wild and fill in some details. And I should pause and note really quick that it's also probably true that this is more of an AU than a canonical backstory, because time travel gets invoked immediately in a way that calls into question how much of what was there is exactly the thing that it was at the time. There's a R2-D2 shows up, is the thing. R2-D2 is in this game, except it's a little guardian R2-D2, but
Okay.
It makes all the same noises R2-D2 does. And it was like all the like all of that stuff comes out of this little guardian robot. It's like a little white ceramic guardian robot that follows Zelda around, basically. Anyway, that all happens, but you're still seeing the events of like going to get the divine beasts, going to try to find the master sword. You know, Zelda's struggling with not having unlocked the power of the goddess that's in her or whatever, right? All of those the things from the Breath of the Wild flashbacks. But on top of those main story missions, there are also side missions that you can do that are just like, hey, learn how to use this character, or, you know, you have 5 minutes to get through this battlefield. And all of this stuff gives you loot. And that loot includes new weapons for your characters as you unlock more characters as you play, but also includes things like all of the monster parts that you would get in Breath of the Wild. You can cut down trees to get wood in this game while you're playing. You can find all the insects and bugs and fish, and different missions have different built-in rewards. And those are important because in between missions, on top of the fighting missions you have, you're given quests that you can fulfill by turning in certain materials, right? So you're like doing Monster Hunter style grinding for materials in this game. And the thing that this game does that's a checklist is it presents all of that stuff on the map of Hyrule from Breath of the Wild as little quest, or as little location dots all around the world. And each of those comes with like some quest text, right? So it could be something like, hey, this person in Laurelin Village, is that what it's called down in the southeast? I think that's right. Laurelin Village really needs some good fish to cook everybody a good meal. And if you turn that in, maybe one of your characters gets an extra heart, gets some extra life. And it gives you some additional quest text and flavor. And it's actually really clever because it means that there's a lot of fluff and flavor in this world, even though those quests aren't things that are loading in. You're not seeing any character designs. You know, you're basically just unlocking either, you know, upgrades, extra attacks, new shops, stuff like that. But the fact that it's all on the map gives it a really clean presentation. You can also just like hit the L1 button and bring up a list of all the shops and all the quests, just like to button through really quick. But I really love the map presentation. It really sells that this is all happening in Hyrule. The other thing about that game is just, I don't know where the story is going, but it is really selling that the divine beasts were obvious evils that everyone should have recognized from the gate as being something they should not have fucked with. I had a mission yesterday that was like, all right, use Mipha, who you recall, Mipha is the Zora guardian, a young girl, a young princess of the Zoran tribe. Use her to kill 4,000 people in this giant mech, this giant elephant mech. And those sequences give you control of those mechs, the divine beasts from that game, and they just have, it just zooms out basically to where you're walking through canyons or flying over the Korok forest, which is like a holy place in this world, except you're in a big bird mech doing Evangelion laser blasts across like, I'm telling you, thousands and hundreds of bokoblins. No wonder they want to fucking destroy Hyrule. Yeah. I think there will be some fun reads of this game as people play through it, because the king of Hyrule is a piece of shit. When he comes up for the first time and it shows his like, you know, Yakuza style name title thing shows up, it calls him like the defier of prophecy. And like, dude, don't defy prophecy. This is what literally 80% of
I'm gonna do it though.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it though. This is what tragedies are. Don't do it.
Rip
to the prophecy, but I'm different.
Doomed by tragic irony, but I'm different.
His name is King Rome. Like, it's gonna go bad. You know what happened to Rome. It's rough. I think like some of the story beats are just, it's fun to be around these characters again. And I think that I think it's a great entry point for people who've thought, hey, there are people who I respect who like Dynasty Warriors games. Maybe I should try one day. This is a pretty good one. All of the characters have very unique, like, personal combat styles. You know, the basics are the same. Whatever. Y is weak attack, X is strong attack. But then the right trigger is like some special thing. And so you're weaving combat together, you're weaving combos together with Y and X, with light and heavy, but then depending on who you have, and if you're Link, what weapon you have equipped, there are entirely different kind of combat mechanics that change the way you fight. So, for instance, when you recruit Urbosa, the guardian from the what are they called? Why am I blanking on their name of that culture? The Gerudo. Yeah, the Gerudo. She, as she fights, charges up electricity, or she can hold down the right trigger to just charge it up, and then cashes it in with her heavy attacks. After a heavy attack, she can keep hitting the heavy attack button, and what that does is summon huge lightning storms around her, or it's different depending on which hit in the combo chain it is, right? So like one of them is just a big AoE thing, another one is like a laser blast, but with lightning, and that's completely different to someone like Zelda, who you fight as Zelda, and what she uses directly all of the Sheikah Slate powers you got in Breath of the Wild, like the Stasis, the Magnesis, the Cryo, and the Bombs. Yeah, Cryonis and bombs, remote bombs.
I don't. Does that have an onus name?
No, it's just called bombs.
Remote bombs.
Bombology. Yeah, exactly. Welcome to Bombology 101. It's my new radio show. And she just uses those in combos, but when certain hits in her combos will leave out Cryonis things or toss a big bomb, and when she hits the right trigger, she detonates anything that's out in the world that she's placed. So she's setting up these big AoE chain attacks, which is really fun. And my favorite character is, of course, Link with a Claymore. Obviously, I have a lot of fondness for the Claymore in Breath of the Wild. And it's in here, and any two-handed weapon with him, he can do regular, like, just strong attacks, but he can also hit the right trigger to, like, use some of his life force to power the attack further. And then his heavy attack button, if it's hit by itself, is that he eats food to heal the temporary damage caused by his super heavy attacks. And it's so funny to see him cram his fucking face with food in the middle of a fight, because that's what you did in that game all the time. And his super attack is to just heal all that damage by going like banana apple potion, and then taking a huge swing with the Claymore, and it's very good. I'm having a good time with it. It has its claws in me in that way. That's just like, let me just clean up all these little quests. I need like 3 more, fire Lizalfos tails or whatever. Let me just go run that mission again. That mission only takes 2 minutes. Let me just run that again and get the materials I need, and I can turn this in and get a heart piece for everybody or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's delivering for me. I kind of came into it. I had like a roller coaster experience of just like hype with that game, where I was really high up for it, and then right before it came out, my hype completely plummeted, and I was like, I just don't think I'm in the right place. I'm not in the right mind state for it. I don't think this is going to be a good time. And then I booted up, and I've had a great time, so it's nice.
That sounds like how I feel with Destiny right now.
Just
like wanting to play. No. I mean the bit before you mentioned your roller coaster of just like. Yes. Continually wanting to be like, oh yeah, I can finish off this quest. Oh shit, it's been 4 hours after I had already spent 17 on the raid.
You did that raid this weekend.
Yeah.
Deepstone Crypt.
The Deepstone Crypt.
You fought some cool stuff.
Yeah, it was really cool. We ended up finishing 20 minutes after the 24-hour cutoff. So we didn't get that special emblem, but we still all now
but
have
also, let's be clear. You probably were not going to beat that thing in 20. If you could have moved the clock back 20 minutes, that final run would not have happened, because they uncap it for power level, right?
Yeah, so essentially for the first 24 hours.
Still, don't get me wrong, but
no, it was the first run after contest mode. This is immediately after, but basically raids are capped for the first 24 hours at a certain power level, which means that all of the enemies, will kill you faster and are harder to kill, no matter how out leveled you are. Basically, so we were all capped at 1230 power level for the whole fight, and we got through the first 3 or 4 encounters essentially, and the 4th one kicked our ass, and then it got to be like 3:30, 4 in the morning. We're like, okay, we need to rest. We decided to come back in the morning and try it again, and unfortunately, just between it was a combination of things too. Is like we had to have multiple substitutes. So you would have to kind of reteach each time, and you lose time kind of gelling with new people and getting everyone into the right roles. And then eventually we just couldn't finish it out. But with that group I had that morning, immediately after the cap like turned off, the first run, we killed it. Like once our damage was good, it's just like, oh, we understood this encounter. It was 100% just like the power disparity when the contest mode was on was too much.
Yeah.
I love that Cado sounds like an NBA head coach, like giving a post-playoffs exit interview about like what happened here. Like, you know, we had to run pretty deep rotations. You know, anytime you are bringing new people on board, it takes a while to gel for your fire team to form 100%. An identity. And I think you did see there in garbage time, you know, what this team was truly capable of. And I think, you know, if we can keep this roster together and maybe make some smart moves in the offseason, I think we will get that badge the next
Coach Cado, I saw that you were running a heavy risk runner strategy during E2.
Yes.
And E2 is where you got caught up. And I understand, you know, I think people understand risk runner makes a lot of sense to fall into but do you think that actually held you back in the long run?
I think if you look at the numbers, everyone struggled with
the analytics.
If you look at the analytics, even the world's first finish, which they took a total, I believe, of 7 hours to finish the raid. The longest time was spent in that specific encounter, actually, and everyone was running risk runner because it was because of the power disparity. People were dying much easier to these enemies, and risk runner helps mitigate that. But that also does mean that it is a shorter range weapon. It takes a lot longer to kill those snipers that are kind of far away. So it slows down the entire encounter. It becomes a sort of endurance run that a lot of teams weren't prepared for. But we made it out. We made it out in the end. You know, through perseverance. A couple of subs later, we ended up making it through.
I fucked up the joke because I should have been like, it's also from the EDZ Times. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say
final Destiny thoughts.
Yeah. I like really enjoyed the raid, and the raid design I thought was really cool. The encounters are really neat. There's a lot of set pieces that we haven't seen in Destiny in a way since like maybe even the original campaign. Kind of like a certain level of bombast that's like really fun, but it's still tied in narratively to the campaign and all of the things that are going on in like the live game in a way that I think has been the most cohesive it's been since like Forsaken. And even Forsaken, I feel like there was a bit of a remove from like main campaign to post campaign situation. And also, of course, we were kind of expecting something like this to happen, but the game state has changed. Like there's new stuff to do in the live game, in the current game, that is the result of what happens in the raid, which is really cool. Always cool to see. And like it's opened up and added a bunch of new areas, which is amazing. Like there's new things to explore, and a lot of those storylines are getting really, really interesting. This is part of the reason why I haven't written a full review yet, because I knew this would happen, and like that's where the good shit is. And it turns out, yes, the good shit is back here. There's a lot of really cool stuff, especially if you played that first week and then kind of finished up the campaign. I would definitely say check back in. There's a lot of new things to look at that are even like not even difficult like quest things, just like story stuff that you can explore and find in the world now that are really, really cool. Dealing with the exos, given that it's a deep stone crypt, and
some good Clovis Bray shit.
Some cool, yeah, It's it's real fun. It's real cool.
Yeah, I saw that cutscene after you beat the raid. I was like, okay,
yeah.
What is that thing I'm looking at? Is that what I think it is?
God, it is.
I have a really good. I got a really good segue into the next thing I want to talk about, but I can't use it because it's a spoiler. So I have to. I gotta like.
Yeah,
hide it somehow. I'm just not going to hide it. The game, the last thing I want to shout out this week is Phantom Brigade, which is now in early access on Epic. People might remember that as a tactics, giant robot mecha tactics game that we played at one of the most recent PAXs. Those recent PAXs being, of course,
one of the last ones.
Yikes! I think it was PAX West last year when I played it.
Wait,
we didn't go to East this year.
No, wasn't it East last year?
Man.
It was East 2 years ago.
Wow.
Because I played it and I was there, and that was East.
Yeah. We didn't go to West.
Because I remember
no.
they had like the structure of like their booth was like you had to go underneath a thing, and the laptops being there.
And so it is a mecha tactics game in which you have limited near sight, predictive powers. You have an engine that can see the next 5 seconds. And so it plays sort of like Frozen Synapse. And that what you're doing is plotting actions and then hitting go. You're telling like your 2 to 4 mechs what to do in the next 5 seconds. Unlike Frozen Synapse, you have pretty perfect predictions of what the enemy is going to do. So in that way, it's more like Into the Breach. And so you're planning around what that is, or you have basically what you know is what are the orders that the other side is going to do. And so what the orders might be, move this tank forward and aim at shoot at your mech number 1, right? It is really cool. I think the biggest thing about it, the thing that makes it so distinct, is the fact that its animation and physics engines are really doing the thing. Unlike something like XCOM or XCOM inspired games in which it's like tile based and there might be a to hit chance and then an attack hits or it doesn't. Basically everything in Phantom Brigade is physics driven. So if you tell a mech to go from point A to point B, it will run from point A to point B. And if that means stepping on a car, it means stepping on a car. If in that run animation, your mech gets shot at and its arm is up and the incoming round goes under its arm, it's not going to get hit. That stuff is modeled physically. It is not rolling a % chance to hit. There are percentage chance to hit sort of that you can kind of get an estimation on, or maybe it is rolling in terms of like how many of these things are going to hit, but the way that it's represented at least is physics driven, which also means that it's easy to get caught up in friendly fire or whatever. Most importantly, what it means is if you fucking have a shield mech who drops that shield down and charges into an enemy, you will lay that motherfucker out like a linebacker does. There is such great physics interaction between the mech units in the game that produce lots of tactical decision making around that. The idea of like, I'm going to shoulder check this guy, or even just I'm going to get in their way to box them in so that another character who I have can snipe safely and like can get a shot in or whatever. It's really, really cool. Like I posted a clip last week on YouTube, and I tweeted it out. People should go look it up because it's just so good at communicating. These are big, heavy machines that slam into one another, cause real damage. The destruction in the villages and forts that you're fighting in is really great. All of the buildings can be like partially destroyed. So you'll see, one of the clips I uploaded was of me getting laid out on my ass and just falling back first into a big building, and just like my mech just laid the fuck out half, looked like it got like, haymakered down, just like knocked out. The ref should come over and start counting as I'm laying in this person's living room, basically. The basic campaign structure is new. Like it is an early access game. You basically have a map of the world. You're trying to recapture your territory after an enemy invaded it. You're going from like zone to zone, and each zone is tied to a level of loot. And that's kind of fun. Making a mech tactics loot game is kind of fun. I was going to go to bed last night, and then I realized right now, because it's early access, you cannot save mid-mission in Phantom Brigade right now. But I was like, let me finish it out. And then all of my gear at that point was level 2 or level 3, and that mission gave me a level 6 sword and a level 6 SMG, 2 weapon types I'd never seen before, and then like a bunch of level 5 chassis and leg units and stuff. I was like, well, I gotta see this shit. So I made a new unit using that level 5 and level 6 stuff, who in the next mission was just beating the shit out of everybody. It was just dashing around, using the sword to like, the first move of that next round was within 5 seconds, close the distance to an enemy, and then did this sort of like sweeping turn, backhanded slash with the sword that cut the legs out from under an enemy, destroying their leg unit immediately, forcing them to crawl or limp or whatever. And just fantastic. It felt so good. The melee attacks in this game are just right there, and they're going to keep working on the melee stuff, which is exciting because they've said that they want it to feel like mechs jousting, which is a really great Like that's a good model that we haven't seen in tactics games, really. So yeah, it's early. I want to like emphasize.
Yeah, Escaflowne-esque.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Where it's like
yes,
medieval mechs,
almost like medieval mechs in terms of the melee stuff. Yeah.
When they have SMGs, is it like BattleTech style where it's integrated into an arm assembly, or is it like he's carrying like a mech?
It's carrying a fucking mech gun. Yeah,
very heavy gear.
A very heavy gear. It's all this game feels very heavy gear. There's lots of no one has the like roller skate style sliding stuff or the hover boots.
That was the
which
good
I love.
Shit.
But they do all have hands. They're picking stuff up. They're like Gundams. They're like heavy gears. They do like heavy gear. There's lots of sliding. There is lots of like you coming around the corner and like your momentum carries you around it. It's almost like these mechs drift sometimes, which is sick.
So they're just cool as hell.
They're just cool as hell. I'm like constantly taking video of this game just to be like, and so that's the stuff that I actually wish there was better stuff right now. So like you cannot re-watch a round that just happened yet. They're working on that. You cannot watch the whole fight play out, which is what I really want. I really just want, when it's done, play me the whole 25 seconds, 5-round fight so I can see everything happen.
This is when Battlestar Galactica Deadlock did really well, which is like the tactics game was fine. The replay features were incredible. Like the best thing was like a big battle was like fun to play.
Yeah.
But like watching it afterwards, it felt like, oh, I just had a really awesome Battlestar battle.
Yeah. It's really cool. It feels a lot to me like Front Mission in some ways, which is great because I have wanted a new Front Mission game for a long time in terms of both the mech designs and stuff like that, but also the way I'm thinking about distances and scale and like it more than BattleTech. Like it's more of a skirmishy. BattleTech was often bigger distances than this. There are like sniper rifles in this game. I haven't found any missiles or rockets yet, but there are sniper rifles and those are pretty far distances. But this is a lot of like urban tactics scale stuff, right? Lots of like those episodes of Ava where they're using buildings as cover. That's the scale of conflict, basically. For as a touchstone for y'all, and it's good. It's just it's good. I think it's early. I want to like emphasize. I think the campaign design is very early. It's sort of BattleTechy in that there are occasionally some like special events that happen. I saw a meteor shower one day. I saw there's parades as you rescue places. Like there's stuff that happens, but like the individual pilot management isn't there yet. It's very early access. My guess is it probably has a year or so of early access before it's like primetime ready. But I'm really glad I checked it out. I think it's going to be very good. The bones are good. The structure is here, or the foundation is here. That's all I got. That's all the video games I played. I played more than I thought I did. Does anyone else have anything they want to shout out before we wrap up this episode? We're not going to be back on Thursday, is my guess, or Friday, right? Take that day off.
Hoping my delivery Thanksgiving meal worked out well.
Have you started cooking it yet?
Oh, go ahead.
Have you? What is the setup for that? Are you storing it somewhere?
Yeah.
What is
it's all in the freezer right now.
Okay.
I decided to give Goldbelly another shot and ordered some sort of Thanksgiving feast from a place in New Orleans. So we will see how that goes. But more importantly, it means that I'm not going to be spending like 12 hours cooking my own feast, which begins to feel
a bit fun.
Yeah,
but Rob's a Souls person now, and he could use that time to play Demon Souls while instead of cooking.
Yeah. There's other places I need to put my labor right now.
Thanksgiving, the Dark Souls of.
No, that's Christmas.
Okay.
Well, sorry, it's whichever one you have to go home and visit your family for that is fraught with the most obligation. That is the real Dark Souls of holidays. So it kind of varies family by family. Some people like Thanksgiving's the really big one. Some people like, the Christmas season is really big. Kind of depends on what your family, what the vibe is.
Great.
For me, it's Christmas.
Great.
It's truly the Dark Souls.
We have one message here that I think requires us to act this out, which is normally not a thing I do, but I presented this here. Are we all ready? This comes in from Mick from Atlanta. Presented without comment from episode 287, Holiday Hot Takes, and this is just us. I'm going to revive. We're reviving ourselves. We're going to restate the things we said during episode 287. This is probably towards the end of an episode, is my guess, or the beginning. It's wild. It's going to be 2020 the next time we podcast together. That's a cool year.
Shit. Yeah.
That's a cyberpunk year.
It is.
It is. It's going to feel good every time you say it. 2020.
2020.
I feel like you need a voice modulator every time you say it. 2020.
2020.
I have 2020 vision.
Were we ever so young?
Oh no. Oh no.
Fuck.
2020.
Why did we think this is going to be a good year?
Oh, God.
Why did we think?
Well, no, hold on. We were already being arch. We know that for a fact. We knew it was going to be a presidential election year. We knew it was going to be a bad year.
Yeah.
No. We were.
It's just,
we
it
even
is
said like
fun
that's a
to
cyberpunk
say
year, like as though we were going to enjoy a game called Cyberpunk. We can't even have that in 2020.
No, we can't. Whew. Well, what we can have is some days off this week. I hope that if you're listening, you get some time off, some time with family and friends, or if not that, because to do that would be to be unsafe, some time to just relax and chill. If you are on the fence right now and you're like, do I want to go home and see my family, or do I want to just be safe? Please be safe. Let me be the voice that says, please. I know I've lost some people already. Some people are like, no, I've already made up my mind. I already bought my tickets. I would love to ask you to reconsider, but I know that some people are too far gone. For those of you who are like still week of being like, it could be awkward. I don't want to have to tell my parents. I'm not going to see them. And please be safe. The best way that you can tell people that you love them, the best way you can love people is to keep them safe. So please don't do any extraneous travel this week. Things are rough right now, all around the world and all around the country. And I hope that folks take this.
Mostly here, though.
Mostly here because of the way things. I don't like to center.
Let's not throw the rest of the world under
America
the bus with
because
ourselves.
Things are rough everywhere, generally speaking. And we have lots of internet. But in this particular case, you're right. This has been a pretty dramatic American level response to this fucking virus.
Well, I don't know. I think it's kind of, do you live under like a Herren Volk right wing proto-fascist government? Because then you got a big COVID problem.
Yes.
Because those people can't do shit right.
Nope.
So yeah. Shout outs to everyone in the UK, Brazil.
Yeah.
Like, good luck. We're all in this together.
I don't know.
Let's hope.
God, let's hope we oust our fascists as best we can. And sorry, I was looking at Biden's appointees. Let's just close this window. Actually, the timing on that couldn't have been more perfect. That's going to do it for us this week. If you have questions or quotes from us from the past that we regret saying, gaming@vice.com is the email address. Thank you to Bowen for letting us use the track Miss You off the EP Pale Machine. Find out more about that at waypoint.zone/BOEN. Rob, where can people find you on the internet?
I'll probably be on the Tower of Latria for a little while, but I've heard tell of a good like slashing sword, so I'll be looking for that wherever that is. People keep saying like 4-1. As soon as I know what 4 is,
I sent you a link.
There's a link.
Scroll up in this chat.
Yeah, that'll have spoilers, Patrick. I hate the spoilers.
God.
Patrick, you're just gonna have to talk to him through the controller again.
I'll do it. I've been upset.
Last night I was I kept looking at Game Base because I was like, Patrick's gonna see how long I've been playing this game. He's gonna see where I'm at. Like, this game's gonna dime me out. And Patrick's probably like, Rob's still at the tower night.
We were playing at the same time, and there was never the. I should have invaded. I guess you can't invade a specific friend's.
God, that would be brutal. If you could just kick down the door, that would be
just to stand in front of the entrance to Tower Night. Like, come on, let's go.
Get out of here. Come on.
You mean bring this guy down for you, big guy?
Mm-hmm. You need help?
Yeah. I would have been happy to. You did it yourself, though. I'm very proud.
Shout outs to Rob. Rob, you did it.
You easily could have summoned in. There would have been nothing wrong with 100%. Nothing wrong
Cado,
with
you're gonna crush this first boss. You let us know once you do. We gotta celebrate. We're all in souls together, baby. Find me on Twitter at Austin_Walker. Where can people find you, Cado?
At @A_Cado_appears.
And finally, Patrick. Or are you also just in the Tower of Latria? Are you waiting at the end of the Tower of Latria? Because that would be the best.
I'm the new potato. I'm the new potato marshal now.
Yeah.
No, you can find me trying to convince my daughter to because when we take days off, like those are like, well, I'm not playing Demon Souls because that's
work.
I've tried to convince she came home from at the park and I was in Latria. My other daughter was sleeping. I was like, oh, but I'll pluck a with this for 30 minutes. And I got into Maneater and she's like, oh, are you fighting like some bad guys? Like, yeah. I was like, do you want to watch me do it? And she's like, sure. She sits down and I got to Maneater once. She's like, ooh, that's a scary looking guy. And then the second one shows up and she's like, ooh, there's two of them, and died immediately. And then subsequently spent 10 minutes failing to get back to Maneater because they put one of the Cthulhu characters up on the stairwell to get there, and like timing how to get. I finally figured out how to do the timing so I can get past it every time without interfering with it. But Jessica just saw me do that, and she got up and she goes, "This is pretty boring. I don't want to watch you do this anymore," and left me. And so I put the PS5 in rest mode. So that'll be me at Patrick Klepek for during the holidays.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you have a good and healthy and safe holiday, everybody. We will be back next week with more. Until then, again, especially for people who, I just thought about Black Friday workers this year. Like, bruh, this country fucking sucks. This country fucking sucks, any of that dude.
Stuff? They gonna do the big lines and stuff like that this year? Really? I guess why not?
Well, there's no fucking relief, so people need to have to work their jobs, so they can pay their bullshit to their fucking landlord, who will kick them out otherwise and flip the property at some point.
Well, I understand that. Yeah. I was just wondering if they're still doing like the people like lining up, like they're charging the bulls.
They'll probably paint social distancing.
All the gawking is going to be so horrendous.
You have to run in this direction. There'll be arrows on the ground of which directions you're allowed to run in.
Yeah, the person working the door needs to have a decent interval being stepped on as people charge over them. That's why we're doing it safely.
Miserable country. Anyway, love and support to those of you who are on the front lines, whether in retail or in hospitals around this country or anywhere else where you're dealing people who are teaching, anyone who is in those sorts of roles right now. Please know you have our love and support and care. Good luck, Godspeed. Fuck capitalism. Go home. What do we want to come in on?
Carson Wentz.
Yeah, we can come in. Yeah, well, I see him going out.
Actually, I think Philly sports radio is probably coming in on
Carson Wentz.
Yeah. What's up with this Jalen Hurts guy? We probably took way too high in the draft, but he looked different.
Let's see what we got.
It's always good to be at the. You know what? At least your team can be in a let's see what we got phase where it's like,
yeah, fair.
You could get a Russell Wilson, right? You could. You're opening. It's like it's a loot box. You're opening it up.
Gotcha. It's a gotcha. You got to turn the handle. Yeah.
We don't even have that. It's just sadness on the other side.
We have the legacy of the worst front office move in a generation.
You don't think it was worth it? No, you don't think?
No. Love to live in a world where actually the Khalil Mack trade was bad. Like my favorite Bears player in 10 years was actually the wrong move.
Yeah. God. All right.
I don't like that John Gruden was right. I don't like John Gruden being right about anything
ever.
Oh wow, you're turning on. You think the money's bad?
No, they gave away 2 first-round picks. They went all in. They went all in on a quarterback who was like is good.
Oh yeah, but I think the Mac trade is good. It just presumed that the Trubisky draft was competent, and it wasn't.
No, I don't disagree with the move made at the time. I understand the logic too completely. I would have made the move in the same situation. It's just sad in retrospect.
Yeah, I mean, just fucking.
Tyler Braid time. Look, the an XFL quarterback came in and shut out the Lions yesterday.
Yeah.
We live in a new and brave world.
I don't know.
XFL,
it just pisses me off so much.
What's the deal with the XFL right now?
They shut down because of COVID.
Right. But then the Rock bailed them out?
Cooking them.
The Rock is cooking.
That's what the Rock is cooking.
That's what the Rock is cooking. The XFL.
It's the XFL. Yeah, and the books. Crucially, and also the books.
I believe the Rock. I believe the Rock's like version of it. It was explicitly like it will be back in a couple of years. Like it wasn't. They were like, yeah, we'll be back in like 2 or 3 years. So it's not. It's not
okay. So it's not that there's no 2021. Okay.
No. All those players basically just got like released and.
So the XFL is now the Twin Peaks reunion.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes.
In 20 years.
In 20 years.
XFL.
Yeah.
It's happening again.
That league it's happening again. That league you like is coming back into style.
That league you like to convince yourself is worth watching because regular football's not on. And you try really hard to like one of those logos and then it's just kind of on in the background.
It's not enough. Yeah.
You know what? I'll just put on 1985 Bears highlights and my daughter will be like, are the Bears on? They are, Jessica. They are in my heart. They are on.
Yeah. All right. Time.is. Today's quote is, behind the curtain's mystic fold, the glowing future lies unrolled. And that's attributed to someone named Bret Hart, but with an E at the end, which I'm sure is some sort of poet. But in my mind, it's Bret Hart, the wrestler, doing a new Twin Peaks gimmick, doing a new the future's past, whatever. You know the thing. What's the Firewalk with Me poem? The bit. It's been a minute since I've had. What did you have, Patrick?
I thought, that's Brett Favre.
He's
just out
Favre.
Here. He's doing Wrangler commercials and then also poetry and
poetry. Yeah,
he's hanging out with George Bush. George Bush is painting, and Brett Favre is doing poetry.
Yeah. God. All right. Let me actually do a clap. You want to do 10 seconds? I only heard 2.
It's because we're so in sync.
Okay.
For me, it was one unified whole.
I love it. I love that.
Also, I got to talk through some Demon Souls stuff.
Okay, let's
go. That's comfortable.
All
right. Yeah. That's a Monday morning conversation.
We don't know how to start a pod? Like,
I'm going to come to you last, Rob, and just give me that energy, okay?